Ladies and gentlemen, our next guest is a frequent guest on Tucker Carlson. He's an internist, a cardiologist, and an epidemiologist who knows about all of this. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand to your feet and greet Dr. Peter McCullough. Thank you, brother.
All right. Thank you. Wow. No slides today. Last time, everyone got the PowerPoint slides. No slides today. What I'm going to do in the next few minutes, as introduced, I'm Dr. Peter McCullough. I'm an internist, cardiologist. I'm a trained epidemiologist. I'm in practice here in Dallas. I spend about half of my time seeing patients and caring for patients with heart disease, but also who contract COVID-19 and the complications, and now seeing really the first wave, I think, of vaccine-injured patients in my practice, and I welcome them, and I have great compassion for what's happening. But what I'm going to do in the next few minutes is I want to give you 5 talking points that you can keep in your mind, and then on any elevator ride, on any brief conversation, before you start the next Bible study, when you're at the next wine tasting, you can just rattle these off because you've learned it over the course of the pandemic. Point number 1 is, we are so happy that we've learned the virus cannot be spread unless someone has symptoms. Unless someone's sick, they cannot spread COVID-19. They're not contagious. That's been shown now in 2 very well-done papers, one by Cow and one by Madewell. It's only asymptomatic spread. It's only symptoms that are related to the spread of illness, and there is no asymptomatic spread. So if there's no asymptomatic spread, as long as nobody in this arena has symptoms, there will not be a single case that comes out of this auditorium. That is an important principle. Now, that means if you're sick and you're susceptible to COVID-19, please stay home. If your children are sick and they're susceptible to COVID-19, and it could be the case, stay home. They've been doing this in Sweden the whole time, okay? Now, because there's no asymptomatic spread, that means, number 2, we never needed to close down the schools. That means we never needed to wear masks, right? Because you can't spread it asymptomatically. That means that there should be no asymptomatic testing, and the World Health Organization agrees. Since June 25th, they've said, listen, stop all this testing before you travel on a plane, before you go into the next classroom. Stop all this asymptomatic testing that's going on in employment, almost as a mechanism of being punitive of personal injury. It's not about COVID, right? So if someone has no symptoms and they get a nasal PCR or antigen test and it's positive, there's a 97% chance it's a false positive. So this week, I went down to Austin and I spent 3 hours in the cave with podcaster Joe Rogan. Okay? And what did Joe and I do? Joe and I have both had COVID. We both had the illness. We recovered. We were rejoicing together. What did Joe and I do? We did a test in the lobby of his man cave. I said, Joe, why are we doing this test? We've already had COVID. We've already recovered. And his answer is, well, we have an insurance policy. And the point is, people are doing asymptomatic testing for reasons other than COVID, because he knew and I knew that we can't get it again. That's the third point. The third point is, once somebody's recovered from COVID-19, it's one and done. It's one and done. You're done. How many of you have had COVID-19? It's over with. The pandemic for you is over with. You can't get it again. It doesn't matter. Listen, it doesn't matter. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, Omicron. Omicron's not a transformer. It's actually a new variant. No, and your kids are thinking that for Christmas. The bottom line is you can't get it again. You can't get COVID-19 a second time. Now, you can get faked out by false positive tests, but you can't get the illness a second time. And we know that now. That's airtight. There's over 130 papers that support this. And through a Freedom of Information Act, in the last few weeks, Aaron Siri and Elizabeth Brem, lead attorneys, through a FOIA request, got the CDC to admit they don't have a single case of reinfection where someone spread it again. Now, the CDC's got 41,000 cases, sadly, of full-blown vaccine failures that resulted in hospitalization and death. 41,000 vaccine failures. They don't have a single failure of natural immunity. Natural immunity is our way out of the pandemic. This is very, very important. Think about this. If we don't recognize natural immunity, what happens? Oh, you get COVID-19. Oh, you can get it again. Take a vaccine. Oh, you got COVID again. Take another vaccine. It just keeps going and going. Wear a mask. Go into lockdown. Oh, you can get it again. Let's lock down our seniors in a nursing home for the 24th month of their last of their lives because of this false narrative that you can get COVID-19 a second time or third time. Someone in my family circles in a nursing home got COVID-19 for real in April of 2020. That person tested intermittently positive 17 times afterwards. They didn't have 17 episodes of COVID. It was one time. And the rest of it was just residual nucleic acids that turned the PCR positive. So once you've had COVID-19, cut it. No more testing, decline testing, shun testing. You don't need it. It's one and done. And take that natural immunity to the bank. It's so important. That's how we end the pandemic. Diana Harshberger, Republican Congresswoman in Tennessee, has proposed national legislation to recognize natural immunity. I think we all should get more than that. Okay, that's very, very important. The fourth point is the illness is imminently treatable, that we can treat COVID-19 and we can actually markedly influence the natural history of the disease by intercepting it early, and those innovations were discovered early in 2020, and I played a role. I was the first to publish the first approach teaching doctors in the world how to treat COVID-19. It's real. Many contributors are here with us, including West Texas maverick Richard Bartlett, who innovated with budesonide. We've been strongly supported by Senator Bob Hall, who was just up on stage. I am telling you right now, every good doctor in America is treating their high-risk patients who contract COVID-19 on day one. And that started with Dr. Connolly, who took care of President Trump. I mean, look what President Trump got. He got sequenced multi-drug therapy, including monoclonal antibodies. That's exactly how I drew it up for America. Podcaster Joe Rogan got the same thing. Okay, so did Governor Abbott. So did Aaron Rodgers. How many more examples do we need to see that early treatment is incredibly effective in reducing the risks of hospitalization and death? And we've learned even more. This year, a few months ago, we learned that oral nasal virucidal washes, that is intentional washing of the nose, a deep back into the nose and the mouth with a nasal spray that you sniff back and spit out, that's either dilute povidone iodine or dilute hydrogen peroxide. Some of you have already been doing this for a long time. Markedly reduces the risk of ever contracting COVID-19. It's far more effective than taking hydroxychloroquine or ivermectin. It's available over the counter. Make sure it's very dilute. If it stings, it's too strong. And then use it on days like this. Some of you have not had COVID-19. You're susceptible. You've had a lot of contact. You go home tonight, go ahead and do an oral nasal wash with dilute betadine or hydrogen peroxide and nullify your risks of COVID-19. There has been a preoccupation on hand sanitizer. Hand sanitizer, it's not a hand infection. It's not even spread by hands. It's a nose infection. It's in the nose. It's in the nose. And I have to tell you, I personally had COVID-19 last year. I didn't know about this because the research wasn't done. It literally baked in my nose for 3 days. If I would have known now, what I know now, I would have been blasting it every 4 hours, just like in the randomized trial by Chowdhury et al. 606 individuals randomized in 2 groups. It was night and day in terms of clearance of the PCR test and markedly reducing the duration and intensity of symptoms. So oral and nasal virucidal therapy, terribly important. Then we use the other drugs in sequence. We use drugs that really work well as supplements. They're not cures, but we use zinc, we use vitamin D, vitamin C, we use quercetin. There's an over-the-counter antihistamine antacid drug, Pepcid or famotidine. That's in that top layer. You control everything I've talked about without a doctor. You don't need it. Everybody should have a COVID-19 survival kit at home. We should really take charge of this. This viral pandemic is a war. It's a war, and it's up to us to step up and start to fight this thing. Because listen, we didn't ask for this. I'm not even going to talk about where it came from. I don't even want to know. All I know is this has really ruined our lives for the last 2 years, and it's time to really step up and let's start kicking this virus butt by everybody taking their thing. We can close this thing out because every person who gets through the illness, they can't get it a second time. The CDC tells us we're at 146 million people who are through it, and those data are in arrears. It actually may be higher. We use drugs. After the supplements, we use monoclonal antibodies. Everybody in here who's over age 65, you get sick with COVID-19, make some phone calls and get to a monoclonal antibody center. Collin County's got a wonderful program. I use it every day in my practice. We have 3 products, Lilly, Regeneron, and GlaxoSmithKline. They really work. Get an infusion and go home. Don't perseverate on this. Age over 50, medical problems, go as well. Younger than age 50, severe symptoms or other things that make you concerned, make some phone calls. And in fact, do this ahead of time so you know where your monoclonal antibody center is. If we don't use monoclonal antibodies, we do use oral antiviral strategies that include hydroxychloroquine, supported by 250 studies. We use ivermectin, supported by over 60 clinical studies. Outside the United States, favipiravir, the new Merck drug, molnupiravir, will be in our program. That's wonderful. It can add to the sequence multi-drug therapy. Using azithromycin or doxycycline is assistive. We now use inhaled budesonide throughout, thanks to the innovation by Dr. Richard Bartlett and the British who did some of the key randomized trials, including the STOIC trial, showing budesonide alone has a dramatic reduction in hospitalization and death. When I advise on childhood COVID-19, it really works in children. So make sure it's an albuterol nebulization and steroid nebulization. Budesonide is preferred. We now use colchicine throughout. That's a drug for gout that's very effective. 30 days of colchicine, supported in the Cole Corona trial. We use oral prednisone or dexamethasone or hydrocortisone once we get to day 5 for pulmonary symptoms. I know I did. Joe Rogan did. It's okay to take some prednisone to kind of get through the back end of the syndrome. We use aspirin, 325 milligrams throughout, because the virus causes blood clotting and that we don't want to end up with a late myocardial infarction or stroke. And so using aspirin makes a lot of sense for about 90 days. That's what the Japanese do. We can even use weight-adjusted aspirin in high-risk children. And then for the highest risk among you, those with hip replacements, atrial fibrillation, prior stroke, prior blood clots, we go ahead and use Lovenox. Just go on Lovenox straight away, or the oral anticoagulants. You know them by the names of apixaban, which is Eliquis, Xarelto, or rivaroxaban, or Pradaxa, or dabigatran. That's a lot of pharmacology, but I'm a medicine doctor, and that's what doctors should do. Push your doctors to say, listen, are you ready to treat me with established protocols supported by major medical associations like the Association of American Physicians and Surgeons, the American Frontline Doctors, the Frontline Critical Care Consortium, Truth for Health Organization. Listen, we're not waiting for the AMA or the Infectious Disease Society of America or the American College of Physicians to tell us what to do. This is about doctors who had the guts to step up and treat this illness, okay? And we do not apologize for that. We do not apologize that. People say, Dr. McCullough, aren't you afraid of people coming after you? Joe Rogan asked me that. I said, Joe, no one's actually sat down across the table and looked me in the eyes. What are they going to do? Convince me not to treat my patients so I can let the virus slaughter them? These doctors have nowhere to hide, and they've got a long line of a walk of shame ahead of them. Fifth point and final point. The vaccines that we have, Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson, with all the great intentions of Operation Warp Speed, brought to market quickly as they were released, have not performed as we expected them to do. Out of clinical trials, they had 90% vaccine efficacy against the respiratory illness. It looked wonderful. 2 months of data. They looked reasonably safe. They looked okay. I don't think anybody had a problem with the vaccines a year ago. But we now know, as they're broadly used in the general population, like many new products, it has not worked out. And we have seen unacceptably high rates of death that occurs after vaccination. About 50% of the deaths that are recorded happen within 48 hours, 80% within a week. I know many of you taking the vaccines. Many of my patients have taken the vaccines. My family members have taken the vaccines. I am so hopeful that those who took the vaccine got some benefit from it without any long-term harm. I'm not predicting long-term harm when it's 1 shot, 2 shots, and that's done. But we now know with each shot, there is a gamble. There is a risk. And the risk is that there's too much spike protein production, and then the risk from a sudden death that can happen within a matter of minutes. That form of death can be anything from an intracranial hemorrhage to an aortic dissection to a myocardial infarction. It can be fulminant myocarditis in a child, heart inflammation. It can be a blood clot in a woman who's still in the age of having her menses. And the FDA warns us about these. These are accepted warnings. This is in the open. This is in the open. Everyone considering from this point forward vaccination, it's a different day. A year ago, we didn't know this, but we know it now. In the U.S. CDC VAERS system, we have 19,000 deaths. About half of those are domestic. We have 31,000 now that are permanently disabled. That is unacceptable for a medicinal product in the United States. And it's unacceptable for our agencies not to review safety for us. And it's unacceptable for our FDA, our CDC, and our NIH, and our White House Task Force. It's unacceptable for them not to provide a safeguard for our citizens. These agencies are here to protect us, and it's unacceptable. Now, as we look forward, I have to tell you, I think our greatest focus is protecting our children. I want to welcome up on the stage with me Dr. Angelina, who is the first pediatrician in Texas to actually speak out on the vaccines. She's an expert on vaccines, and she was the very first one who testified in the Texas Senate on the concerns of vaccine safety in children. Give a nice warm welcome. God bless you. Moving forward, the vaccines are not enough to bring us out of the pandemic. I am going to close by calling for, at this point in time, a complete and total ban on any vaccine mandates. I'm calling for an immediate pause, a pause in the public program on Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson until we can do a deep dive on the safety review, figure out what went wrong, and find the right pathway forward. Listen, there are many vaccines in development. There are going to be safer products that can be used to help to protect our seniors and our most vulnerable in the population. Younger people, like everyone in this room, I think is in great shape to work together on developing herd immunity and closing out the pandemic. That'll be my last comment. Thank you for having me today in Frisco, Texas.
Let's hear one more time for Dr. Peter McCullough. All right, quick just update here for you. A lot of people ask me, Clay, why are these doctors speaking out? Are they doing it for the money? Well, Dr. Peter McCullough here, he apparently was doing it because he wanted to donate $2 million to Baylor Medical, which is now suing him for $2 million, I believe. Is that correct? They're suing you for $2 million?
Probably. It's at least $1 million.
At least $1 million. So apparently he did it because he wants to donate to Baylor. No. He's doing it because he wants to speak up and fight back and share the truth with everybody to save lives. But if you want to support Dr. Peter McCullough and help him fight against Baylor Medical, what you want to do is you want to go to Peter McCullough MD on Facebook. That's Peter McCullough MD on Facebook. It says, I'm not Dr. Peter McCullough. I'm going to pass the mic back to Peter McCullough so he can offer some clarification.
Thank you. And also, I want to direct you to medicalcensorship.org, and a wonderful production by Dr. Carolina Galvin is being produced. And also, please visit me on America Out Loud Talk Radio, the McCullough Report. I do a weekly report to the nation and try to, just like I did today in a few minutes, update you on where we are in the pandemic, because I am not going to rest until we close this out.
One more time, folks. Let's hear Dr. Peter McCullough. All right, now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to open it up here for a Q&A panel. So we're going to bring up General Michael Flynn. We're going to bring up General Michael Flynn. We're going to bring up Dr. Peter McCullough. We're going to bring up Dr. Richard Bartlett. Hey, General Flynn, I have a question for you, sir. General Flynn, I have a quick question for you, sir. Have you been vaccinated?
It's none of your damn business.
Okay. I just want to see how this works. Okay. I just wanted to see how that works. Okay. That went well. Okay.
All right, ready, Clay?
Okay.
Hi there. My name is Andrew Carlson. I hail from Kansas. I have a question kind of generally for the panel there. In light of this Maxwell trial and Epstein, and also the BuzzFeed report that came out this week, at what point do we need to consider disbanding or keeping a lot of our government agencies?
Hey, you want to start with the FBI?
Then the CIA.
NSA?
Any other letters?
CDC.
So, but the bigger issue, okay, the bigger issue that comes out of a question like that, and this is a danger to this country, is the lack of trust in any of these institutions. And we don't trust these institutions, and that's a shame for us as American citizens, that we don't trust the institutions of government that are supposed to provide us safety, security, and really a sense of who we are. So that's a very dangerous thing for a constitutional republic, especially for the United States of America. That's the bigger issue, and that's something that we all, as Americans, have to understand about what it is that we are up against. This is very, very serious. It's a great question. It's a very serious issue. And, all kind of kidding and ribbing aside, because I do have very serious thoughts about, how to deal with the security state of this country. But that's a problem here, is the people of this country do not trust the institutions of the federal government, and that's a shame. So to all those politicians or anybody in the media here that's watching this or wants to, call out some derogatory name of me, tough, too bad. Go pound sand. We don't trust the federal government.
All right. Del Bigtree. Going to Del Bigtree, sir.
Tracy LeBlanc, California, moved to Dallas, Texas. For the doctors on the panel, friends of mine are doctors, and they've seen a big increase in pancreatic cancer. I'm just wondering if you've seen any indication of increases in cancer.
Just briefly, I don't think there's been enough exposure to the vaccines to really harness their oncogenic potential, but we do know that the spike protein that's produced in the body after vaccination does turn on two cancer genes. One's called P53 and the other one's BRCA, or the BRCA gene. I think 1 or 2 shots, people get through it, they're fine. And I think what you're seeing is discovery bias, because people didn't get their mammograms and other things last year. But I am really worried about boosters. I think boosters, and we start to lay down spike protein, it takes 1.5 years each shot to clear this stuff out of the body. I think all bets are off with respect to cancer and chronic diseases.
I believe what we're seeing right now is the immediate, what I'm seeing in the ER is not the cancers, but the stroke, the Guillain-Barré syndrome, the transverse myelitis, where a lady stands up 2 hours after the shot and she falls flat on her face because her legs don't work. The college student who can't think clearly, that her heart's racing and she feels like she's going to pass out after the shot 4 days ago. Or the pulmonary cripple who used to be a landscaper, worked hard to support his family, and now he can't breathe without oxygen 5 months later. So what we're seeing is those immediate things. Cancer is usually something that takes time to develop.
Clay, can I jump in on this answer?
Absolutely.
All right, I just want to say that one of the things we're investigating is the toll-like receptors. This vaccine, the mRNA vaccine technology, in order to get it to your cells, your immune systems were all fighting it, so they altered the mRNA, the RNA message, to allow it to get to your cells. In doing that, what it did was shut off your toll-like receptors, which is basically the watchdogs of your immune system that are always watching for cancer, always watching for, the chickenpox virus. That's why we're seeing shingles in people that are getting vaccinated with this vaccine. There's no shingles in the vaccine. What it means is the immune system is shutting down and not working correctly. So while we look at it, we are hearing a lot of different cancer doctors saying they believe they're seeing a rise. It could certainly be attributed to those that haven't been treated, but this turning off of the toll-like receptors may have been a just colossal error in the design of this vaccine. I think we're going to see more on that in the days and weeks and months to come.
Thank you, Dale. Before we go back up the upper deck here, I had one young lady who had a question for Ian Smith. Ian, if you can come up here real quick here. She was wanting to know, what is the status of your business in New Jersey? They wanted to know what's going on in New Jersey. If you can give us a quick update there. Ian Smith.
We actually just got some news today. As I told you guys in previous speaking engagements and yesterday, we were suing the Township of Belmar to get our business license back on due process violation. It's a legal process that they're supposed to follow. They called it a low-level administrative hearing and threw away all of that legal process. We had a wonderful case by our lawyers, and I just got a text from my business partner, Frank, today that claim has been denied by Deborah Katz. Now, this is something that Frank and I have gotten very, very, very used to. And I want you guys to understand that this is part of what happens with these fights. The people that you are fighting against have broad resources, and their goal is demoralization. They will not demoralize us, and they will not demoralize any of you. And I want you guys to stand up, and I want you to show them and send a message that we will not be demoralized, because as soon as I get home on Monday, we meet with the lawyers, and we will file an appeal, and we will not be stopping.
Now, we're going to go back up to the upper deck. And hang out up here just in case there's more questions for you, okay? Go to the upper deck. Seth Cashel, what do you got?
Hi, my name is Bruce, and I'm from the outskirts of Chicago where the corn starts growing. And I have an idea. I'm wondering maybe Dr. McCullough, or it's kind of a DNA testing question. With the immigrants who've been damaged by being separated from their children, supposedly, and they want to give them 400,000 USD, can we test their DNA to make sure these children are theirs, or make sure that they have been registered with Customs first or Border Patrol first, so we just don't give away like billions and trillions of dollars to 80 million people?
You start pulling on that string, and you're going to find all kinds of things. I was asked to be the doctor for the Midland County Migrant Children's Camp, the abandoned children's camp. And when I got through the two razor wire fences, past the machine gun, fully armored people into the camp, I found out at the same time there were people driving in their private vehicles that looked like like gang members, is how my impression was. And they were there as a third party to help children find their family members across the country. And they were going to be signed out to them. And I found out that, so I found out a lot of things that are going on there, but you pull on one thing and you find another, and you're like, well, that doesn't make sense, so that's wrong. And so all of a sudden, that migrant children's camp, when I was asking who owns this man camp, an oil field man camp that's making millions of dollars every week for busing in these people in a federal bus, in 3 federal buses in the middle of the night, who owns this? And I started saying that on the radio. It disappeared. Poof, they all got moved into Dallas to the migrant children's camp here. There's so many things that are connected. You know, I don't know what to say. I mean, we got paternity testing. That's not a new idea. Giving 450. I got 3 adopted kids from other countries. I got 6 adopted children. One of my kids is adopted from the Republic of Georgia. He told me, hey, somebody send me across the border so I can get my $450,000.
All right, Del Bigtree, going to you, sir.
Hi, I'm Lynn Holland from Dallas, and I've prayed for you, General Flynn. I was heartbroken when I heard that you were in financial straits after, a statement. My concern is, sir, were you able to get a house for your family?
Yep,
Don't worry about me. And I'll tell you what, here's what I tell people, because everybody always comes up and says, you know, I feel so sorry for what happened to you. And here's what I believe. Don't feel sorry for me. And don't feel sorry for Donald Trump. Feel sorry for this country for what they put us all through. Okay? They put every single one of us through this for the last 4 years plus. And this story is not, you know, it's not completely told yet, right? We're still living this. So I don't feel sorry for myself. I have a lot of, brothers and sisters. I have a great family. My wife and I have been together for over 40. We've been married together for over 40 years. We've known each other since we were 13. So there's very, very little that I worry about when I don't worry about myself, okay? I know that we have a very, very strong faith, and we believe in God and the American people, and you all got us to this point. So thank you for asking, and appreciate it. But here's where I'm at. Here's where I'm at. And this is about this country. This is why I'm standing here. And I said it this morning earlier about, grandchildren and all. But this nation is in a time of crisis. Okay? My situation was a microcosm of everything that we are facing as a nation right now. Everything. It's all part of it. And like I am prone to say, I know what the left's plans are. I know what the Democrats' plans are. What I get upset about is what's the Republican establishment? What are the Republican leaders doing to fight back for us? Because we put them there. So that's my bigger message to them, is people got to get in. And it's like this T-shirt says, and I'll maybe wear mine tomorrow. We came up with the phrase, fight like a Flynn. I mean, we mean that. We have to stand up and fight for this country, and you got to decide how you're going to serve. So thank you, ma'am, for asking.
Jacob Wells, come up here real quick. Jacob Wells. This is Jacob Wells, the founder of Give, Send, Go. The founder of Give, Send, Go right here. Jacob, a lot of people are wanting to know, Give, Send, Go. I talked to quite a few people. They heard you were here. Why did you start Give, Send, Go? Just tell us briefly about that, then we'll go to our next question in the upper deck.
Sure. Hey, thank you for giving me an opportunity. We started Give, Send, Go because we believe that money does help meet our material needs, but with every material reality, there are immaterial realities attached to them. No amount of money that you give to someone that's just lost a child in a car accident is going to heal the hurt that comes along with it. But we know that Jesus does. And so when everyone saw GoFundMe coming on the scene, and they were only reaching half of the solution, they were helping people raise some money to meet material needs, we said there's a bigger solution out there. And that's bringing the hope of Jesus to these solutions. And so my sister and I, we created this platform, GiveSendGo.com. We are not the alternative to GoFundMe. We are the replacement. It is going to be we are the crack in the armor of big tech. Give, Send, Go is now available in 40 countries around the world. GoFundMe's in 19. We're blowing them away in metric after metric. So you guys take an opportunity to share the word with people. Give, Send, Go. We do some amazing things. We've got a Pray Now button. You won't find that on GoFundMe. We actually we hired our first team was a prayer team. We paid people to call every campaign and pray with them about what they're going through. Right now, we've seen millions and millions of dollars raised for everybody incarcerated in January 6th. We were the only platform that allowed Kyle Rittenhouse. We helped raise over $600,000 for Kyle when everybody else shut him down. The stories of what God is doing through Give, Send, Go is absolutely amazing, and it's because of people like you that have used the platform. Continue to share it with your friends and family, and that's it. I mean, I could keep going. That's it.
Now, real quick, behind the scenes here, just so you know, as soon as we heard about Ian's update, they set up GiveSendGo.com. Again, Jacob set this up just in the past hour. GiveSendGo.com/AGB. If you want to support Ian and his legal fight there with Ian Smith, the gym owner from New Jersey, that's GiveSendGo.com/AGB. That's GiveSendGo.com/AGB. Thank you. Seth Keschel, back to you in the upper deck.
Hi, my name is Whitney, and I'm from Collin County, Texas, right here. My question is directed at the medical professionals on the panel. You talk about how early detection of COVID is key in the treatment. So how can we feel confident in the COVID test? Are there other ways that we can determine whether or not we have COVID?
Yeah, I think we're at the point now. COVID is such an important diagnosis to ascertain that we need confirmatory testing, just like what we do with HIV. So I have no problem with patients getting a PCR test at a low cycle threshold, less than 28, and turning around and doing an antigen test. I think they're perfectly fine. Remember, these tests have a high negative predictive value. When they're negative, you're good. But when they're positive, the flaw could be that they're false positive. So we only want to test people with acute symptoms, but don't have any reservations about getting a second test and trying to, in a sense, really confirm this diagnosis. We're all going to get colds, and it's going to happen. But right now, we're on alert. Every single cold is potentially COVID, and so we're in this conundrum. I think confirmatory testing is the way to go.
All right, next question here. We had somebody who was asking me about this question. This goes for Wendy Rogers, Senator Wendy Rogers. People were asking, again, multiple people were asking me, whatever happened with Arizona, the election audit? Some people feel like there's unresolved, and so I'm going to pass the mic to you, and then you can pass the mic over, because many people were asking me that behind the scenes.
Well, welcome from Arizona. And we had the great reveal September 24th of the Arizona audit of Maricopa County, 2.1 million ballots. All of those data sets were given to the Arizona Attorney General Brnovich. He has possession of that. He commenced a criminal investigation, which is now ongoing. So it can't happen quickly enough. We have been keeping the pressure up on him, and thus now we wait. And with that, I'll give it to my friend and colleague, State Representative Mark Fincham, who I will preface by saying Mark Fincham is not only running for Secretary of State for Arizona, and both he and I have been endorsed by President Trump. But it was Mark who convened a hearing last November in Arizona because of all the shenanigans we were hearing about. And it was Arizona that began this process of one county. And now, Monday, we will do it again of the next largest county.
Yes, Pima County is about to have a public hearing on election integrity. So you need to know, Pima County is the second largest county, and it's home to the People's Republic of Tucson. One of the worst, petite, tyrannical governments, their town council, in the state of Arizona. In fact, quite possibly in the nation. So on the matter of the Attorney General's timeliness, there are a couple of things I'd like to share with you, which will maybe help make sense of that, and I'll try and be really brief because I know we're short on time. Immediately after the evidence book from the Senate was turned over to the Attorney General, I received an inquiry from the AG's Office of Election Integrity. Say, we understand you've been doing some work in Pima County. Would you mind sharing your work product with us? I thought you would never ask. Then we have information coming in from Yuma County about geotagging, geofencing, some work that's been done down there and some affidavits that have already been taken. One individual tagged 72 times between a nonprofit office and a voting center. Imagine that over the space of 5 days leading up to the election. Then we have other information that we have pulled from Navajo County, Coconino County. I could go on, but the fact that the Attorney General's office is pulling in evidence, and by the way, just because the Senate gave them a small amount of evidence, that doesn't mean that the AG's office is limited. They can subpoena anything because they're in the judicial branch, or I'm sorry, the executive branch, not the legislative branch. He can pull bank records of county supervisors. Hope he's doing that one. Travel records to the Chinese Communist Party's little land of fun and games. He can do all that. What I'm telling you is quality investigations take time. As a retired criminal investigator myself, the fact that they are being methodical and taking their time and pulling resources from other parts of the AG's office to work on this, if they're not doing a racketeering investigation, I will eat this gray hat.
Okay, final 3 minutes. Next question, and Del, I'll ask you this offline. I just want to know about your hair product, because Del, how many of you know Del has incredible hair? Del Begtree, incredible hair. Del, we'll talk about that offline. I won't ask you that now. Okay, ma'am, what's your next question?
And God bless you all, especially the doctors. I'm in the medical field, and I know how scary it is to speak out. So I have a quick question. I came across a journal article not too long ago linking prions and the vaccine. And I'm wondering what the doctor's opinion is on prions, because prions are known to be a cause of Alzheimer's. And I wonder if we're going to see some long-term damage in terms of Alzheimer's with those with the vaccine.
Okay, final 3 minutes. I'll pass the mic to you, sir, and then to you, sir.
Okay, so prions, we're talking about diseases that are very slow to manifest. First of all, they rushed out these shots, and without adequate testing, without knowing long-term effects. And so that is something that I've read about, that I've heard is a risk, concern, but those are things that manifest years down the road, usually. So how are we going to know that when this got put out there in months?
Remember that prions are forms of an infection that's not a live organism, but it's actually a protein that infects from one organism to another. The vaccines, because they were rushed out, the spike protein, in theory, could be spread to someone else by what's called shedding. That's still yet to be proven, but we're getting very closer to understanding that happens, and that, in fact, the spike protein itself could cause neurodegenerative disease. That part of the chain of logic, I think, is more tractable. I'm really worried with boosters. The main message here, people who took shot 1 and shot 2 early on, they did it out of patriotism. I think no harm, no foul if they don't take boosters. But again, once boosters start, I think we're in trouble.
Final 2 questions. We'll go to Seth, and we'll go back to you, Del. So Seth Keschel. Seth, what's your next question there, sir?
Yeah, I think Mark Fincham needs to know you need to have some smart guys lined up for Monday for Pima County. Like you?
Name's Robert Rachel. I'm from Farmersville, Texas. I want to salute all you patriots on the stage, first of all. My question is to Mr. Fincham and Wendy Rogers, and my question is, when do you think we can expect Mr. Brnovich to start passing out arrest warrants?
Okay, rapid fire, here we go.
When they're ready, not soon enough. Hopefully in the next few months. You need to understand there's, in right, wrong, or indifferent, there's also a political dimension, always, right? He is running for the United States Senate, which has added a different sort of dimension to the whole thing. And but for Arizona, we have all this drama. And it's up to Representative Fincham and, to me, Senator Rogers and the rest of our colleagues, when we convene in the next few weeks in January, to still do our jobs, which is to put together legislation that will shore up the gaps in election integrity so that voters will feel that in 2022, when they vote, their vote won't be stolen. So that's our job.
Directly to your question, sir, there is an investigative discipline called flipping. I would just as soon give up on the little warrants for the big warrants. It's called twisting, fill in the blank.
Okay, final question here, and Adele Bigtree, seriously, I want to talk about your hair care products because you're a beautiful man. Okay, but ma'am, what's your question?
Has the virus been isolated?
Who are we asking that question to there?
The doctors, I'm sure.
Doctors. Do you want to ask General Flynn about that? I'm just kidding. Okay.
You know, viruses are not isolated in a petri plate like bacteria are, but I think there's a sufficient amount of evidence, and the paper I quote is by Caldas and colleagues, where it's clear there is a virus that's infecting cells. It's clear it's in the body of people with COVID-19. And it's clear this infection is unlike anything we've seen, particularly the blood clotting that occurs at the end. So I'd encourage everybody here in the audience to really accept the fact it's a real infection. It's a virus that was manipulated in a lab in China. It has created a tremendous amount of work for doctors like Dr. Bartlett and myself, and we're doing everything we can to close out the pandemic. I think it's doctors' responsibility to do it. Thank you.
All right, folks, one more time. Let's hear for the panelists. Let's hear for General Flynn for coming up with the idea to do a Q&A. One more time. Let's hear for the panelists. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this time we're going to bring in Sean Foyt and the Praise and Worship Band. So let's hear one more time for the panelists.